Hi, folks. Welcome to our webinar today. We're going to give people just a minute to sign in and get settled. So we'll wait just a few seconds here before getting started. Okay, and as we're waiting, we're going to invite everyone to put your information in the chat, introduce yourself, tell us who you are, how you found out about network science or why you're interested in it. So pretty open. We just want to know who's in the room. Okay, well, I am going to go ahead and get started. My name is Danielle Varda. I am the CEO of Visible Network Labs, and I am thrilled that you are here today. We are a team of network scientists, technologists, developers, and partnership people who have been building technology and science methods for people to measure and monitor their collaborative activity over time. And that has been the result of many years of work, but also as a result, we have built a platform that allows folks to do this kind of ecosystem mapping. So we're excited to bring to you today our fourth webinar in a four-part series called Sharing Ecosystem Data to Build Collective Capacity. I believe that some of you have been to all four of these sessions, so welcome back. And this one is kind of the end of our four how-tos, but we're always available to do more of this kind of thinking. So just a big welcome to our VNL community. You are a part of a lot of people who are doing ecosystem, stakeholder, collaborative network building, usually to make some kind of big impact. So most of our users are from government or nonprofit agencies, not exclusively. And our tagline is that we try to make invisible networks visible. We really have seen the power of that in making the things that we know and feel all around us visible to each other. So that's what we're hoping to share with you all today, is a few more ways to be able to do that. So in the chat, again, if you haven't already, please do introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, where you are, and maybe what you do related to networks, what your interest is. So we love to know who's in the room. So we appreciate this is awesome. I'm already looking at it, getting a little distracted. So glad to see you all here today. All right, so I'm going to jump in. This is kind of the why, the reason that we have built these tools and these methods, and the reason that we do these webinars is because we know that we are really all embedded in what we refer to as the network way of working. The network way of working is just a norm today. This years ago used to say a new paradigm, but now it doesn't really matter if you are in the private, public, or nonprofit sector. There is probably some expectation that you are going to work across boundaries. So where we used to focus really hard on getting degrees to do one thing really well, now almost no matter where you are, you also have to collaborate across sectors, build partnerships, and things like that. So what we have noticed is that most people are not given a lot of support for this. They're not given tools, the data to do this work. And so it's really hard for folks to leverage their resources or have good guidance on this when we're kind of just depending on our gut instincts to do that work. So our hope is to fill that gap by bringing these tools and data and things like that to the table. So I mentioned this is a four-part series. We have already gone through the first three. So we did an intro webinar around going from chaos to clarity around managing your ecosystem. Then we focused on developing and managing the members of the ecosystem. In the second webinar, we focused on capturing data from those ecosystem members. The third was translating that data to insights. And then finally, sharing ecosystem data to build collaborative capacity is where we are today. Today, we are just going to quickly review those last three webinars so folks on the call either can recall that or know if you want, you can go back and watch old videos on that. But today, we're going to talk about the sharing features. At Visible Network Labs, we have built this work and we do our work around a couple of core values. The first is community engagement and user engagement. We've never built anything that hasn't been in discussion with our communities who are using the features and the platform and the data, but also community capacity building. So that's why we do things like this. We believe strongly that people in communities should have access to their own data, that they should be able to use it. And if we can contribute to how people are able to do that, then we've fulfilled our mission. But thirdly, we focus on the democratization of data. We really believe in that. So that's what this webinar is a lot about. We just believe if you take data from community, you should find ways to give it back. So I'm very proud of our team that has not only created methods for doing that, for everything from how we address how we get the data to how we share it back in the end. So we've not only built the methods, but also technology and features in the platform that allow you to do that with ease. So I'll talk about dashboards, member profiles, what it means to have read-only access, and then we'll talk briefly about reporting and how we do it. At the end of the webinar, we always stay on for any extra questions. So we usually present for about the first 45 minutes, and then we will open it up to questions. Today, we have a very special thing that's going to happen. We have been working at Visible Network Labs on a brand new feature that we are all very excited about. We think you're going to be very excited about it too, because it's going to give you instant satisfaction of building out your network. I'm going to save the unveiling of that for my colleague, Brandon Davis, who is on the call and is going to do that after the end, towards the end of this webinar. But we think all of you will be really excited about it. We are just thrilled and can't wait to play with it more and more. So we'll be sharing that at the end as well. And again, if you haven't introduced yourself yet, please do. I'm only going to do this one kind of level setting slide for all of us about what we mean when we say network. I use the word network a lot. You might be engaged in stakeholder engagement, ecosystem building, collaborative, collective impact. We call these data part of a network because we measure them. So there are really three types of data in a network, and that you will need to think about and collect and have to do this kind of work. So the first one are these nodes, which we actually represent the members of your ecosystem. So we refer to the whole database as your ecosystem. It can be made up of organizations, people, maybe thoughts, ideas, places, but they are mapped on a visual as nodes and then captured in the database by their contact information and their attributes. So the attributes are the second type of data. And you'll see down here a little key that has colors. In this case, we have the attribute of primary sector. We always recommend that everyone do at least one type of attribute that allows you to really make sense of the data and organize it. So in this case, you can see that the colors are representing different sectors. The third type of data are the relationships between the nodes. So that's the kind of special nature of this kind of method, which is that we collect information about the connections between those members. So unlike just a regular database where you can have information about all the members of your ecosystem and then data about them, we go one step further to look at how they are related to each other. You'll see as we go through this, we do add special features to that. For example, types of analysis and insights, but also geospatial analysis and things like that that you can add on to if you have the data to do that. And we actually offer some geospatial analysis in here for everyone in the platform. So this is the software that we have developed. It's called the PARTNER CPRM. It's a community partner relationship management system. It is a little play on a CRM, which is a customer relationship manager. That is designed for converting people to paying customers through marketing funnels. And that is not the work that we are trying to address. We are very much doing much more impact, social impact, ecosystem building work. So the foundation of a CRM works when you want to store information about the members of your ecosystem, but from there, it directs you down a very marketing sales pathway. Our system will differently make lead you down a path towards building connections, building strategies, and action steps. So it's not a CRM. We don't do any email marketing in it, but you will see that we have some features that are similar. So before I move on, if you have not already signed up for it, it's free to get started on it. So someone on my team, Brandon, can put the link to the registration page in the chat, and make sure you go in and that you register. Once you register, you'll be able to load up to 500 ecosystem members and all of their attributes, do a little analysis, and practice all the data captures. So we encourage everyone to go in there. And if you're just dying to get away from spreadsheets and get your stuff organized into a system that you don't have to get too invested in at first, this would be a good tool for you. Okay, we do have a number of features of the CPRM that will kind of track the 4 parts of this webinar series. So since I'm about to go through them, I'm just going to skip right through this. I'm going to do a very quick overview of what we have already covered in the other webinar. So in the first webinar, we went through developing and managing your members in the partnership database. So the reason this is so important is that managing members can be really difficult, especially when, let's say, your team or just you are just putting everything into a spreadsheet. I mean, I'm guilty of this too. I almost start everything with just in a spreadsheet, but inevitably I'm wondering, what's in there, and I can't analyze it from that very easily. So getting it into a system is a great first step. So in that first webinar, we talked a lot about who to put in there, how you would load them up, and then how you would create attributes for looking at those. And so go back to that webinar. We have a landing page where you probably registered for this, where we have all of the past recordings and slide decks. In the second webinar, we focused on capturing data from your ecosystem members. So what we know is that you can have all the data in the world, you can bring in secondary data, but then getting more information from them is usually part of the process of learning about the ecosystem and then leading to building strategies and action steps. So we have inside the platform an entire survey system that you can access. It's like Qualtrics or SurveyMonkey, but it also has relational questions in there that let you do the social network analysis with ease. So you don't have to do this in a different system, bring the data in here, figure out how to organize it. If you just use the survey system in the platform, you can create as many surveys as you want with different members. That's where you can start building out networks of networks and organizing a very complex ecosystem into the ways you want to collect your data. So we have lots of tools in there for you to do that. It's a pretty nice system. We also have a library of questions that you can use, or you can bring in your own. So we know there are some challenges to this. So what we've done is really try to accommodate those challenges. We have templates in there, and this is one of the things we're excited about. We're bringing more templates in just to make it as easy as possible for you to collect the data. So if you want to learn more about that, that's webinar 2. You should go back there. Then in the kind of third process of our CPRM is taking the data and translating it into insights. So in webinar 3, we talked about how to do exploratory analysis in the platform, and then also how to start seeing insights. Just some quick examples. We have network mapping that we shared with you, insights that are automated, like understanding the key players based on different connections that they have. And we have a whole insights library inside here that you can access, not have to go look everything up, that can help you make sense of the things that you're seeing. We also have the geospatial analysis, just charts and tables, all kinds of other things. So having the data is one thing, then being able to make sense of it is a whole nother. So that's in webinar 3, and we would encourage you to check that out. So today we're here to talk about how you share that back out with folks. So having data is amazing. Making sense of it is very helpful, but then figuring out how do we actually share that back with our communities. I mentioned we believe that if you take data from community, you should find ways to give it back. So that's the reason that we have built the process out this way, that you will have time and the capacity in order to do that. So we are to do this work, we're going to actually just demo a lot of things and show you kind of how it works. So before I do that, I'm going to kind of cover what I'm going to show you. So these kinds of reports and briefs that are almost always like the end of, when you collect some data, are not things that are automated in the platform, unfortunately. We do have lots of automated things, but the reports and briefs are the examples that we're showing you here are actually what our team creates. So lots of them are public for your reference, but we show you how we talk to people about this work, how we make sense of it, how we provide recommendations. So we know a lot of funders need reports. We know that sometimes you just want to tell the story of your network. And so being able to do this is essential when you have data, is reporting it back out. So we have long reports. We also have like 2-pagers. We know very few people read the 80-page report, but most of the time it's necessary for some kind of requirement, often of a grant or some work that we're doing, or our boss just needs us to have those reports come in. The briefs are about 2 pages to 6, and they are basically ways in which you can really summarize a lot of complex data into a really direct, clear data point, so that we can share that with folks, often to spark conversations or to share in maybe public meetings and things like that. So I'm going to show you where to find some of these. I'm also going to show you member profiles. So we talked about member management. So what that means is in your ecosystems, you have lots of members in there. This is one of the most popular features that we have built together with people in community, because what happened is people asked us if we're going to invite people to put their data in, invite them to take surveys, how can we share something back with them as a thank you? So we built the member profile from a request from a user who said, could we just have a way to summarize that person's profile, their data for themselves? What we then went on to do a few steps later was to enable you, the owner of all of this work, to share that back with the member. You can also turn on a feature that allows you to share that with other members. So in this process of sharing data, I always talk about a dial that ranges from very private, we don't share anything, to very public. And what we have done is allowed you to pick where you want to be on that dial. So you can keep things very private and not make any of it public, or you can make just little bits of it public. So for example, a member profile can be shared with just the member themselves, or you can choose to share the member profiles with everyone. So those are 2 choices. People decide how to do that. There's also 2 options. You can make it public, that you can make one public version and one private version right inside your platform, so that you can have a private one that might have more information on there, and then a public one that might like withdraw any sensitive information or things we don't want to share. So we are very careful about sharing data. We have to make sure that people know we're sharing it before we even collect it. And so whenever we have done a project where we share data, or we work with communities that do, we want to make sure that all of that is included in the instructions and the consent that you send out when you capture the data. And that also you don't accidentally share people's data. So the member profiles I will show you in a moment, they're pretty neat. Then we also have dashboards. So dashboards are not at the member level, they're actually at the whole network level. So the dashboards can summarize all the data across one of your networks. So if you have a whole ecosystem, you can do a dashboard on that. If it's made up of multiple networks of networks, you can make a dashboard for each one. So the dashboards are places where you can come in and summarize just a little bit of data. And then the last thing that I will that I mentioned earlier is that you can provide read-only access. So in the other webinars, you saw the back end, how you get in. There is the option to basically make the whole system shareable, but through a read-only lens only. So you can allow a user to come in and see the data and do all of the analysis from the analyzer, but they cannot change or add data. So that's usually some kind of either trusted partner, or if you have an agreement with your community, then you might have people who come in, and we call them navigators, the CPRM navigators, who can help others in the community navigate the data. So that's one other way. All right, so we know that there are kind of two really good ways to learn this kind of stuff. So one is to show you a real world example, and then the other is to demo it for you. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of come out of this presentation for a minute so that we can do this work of looking at these two different ways of seeing things. So in the first part, I am going to actually show you the real world example. So that is right here. Okay, so what you're seeing here, so if you've been a part of the other webinars or heard me talk about this, you've heard me talk about the Jeffco Partner CPRM. I'll briefly mention it. How I got here, I always like to show people, if you just Google Jeffco CPRM, you can do that right now. Click on it. You'll see this landing page. So it's pretty easy to find. There's not a lot of them. You'll see it says it's a county community partnership database. So when we built this, it was with funding from the Colorado Gives Foundation, and the foundation asked us to build a completely public-facing version of the CPRM. So kind of like a library of partnership data. So we did that, and with people in the community, went through the process of bounding the ecosystem, getting our members in there, their attributes. We collected data from some of them. And then we do have a number of folks who are have read-only access. So what I'm showing you here is the final piece of that project, which is how we shared it back with people. So we ended up making a public-facing landing page like this, so you can come to it. You can see where we launched the CPRM, and that's a whole webinar. But most importantly, you can read the report, you can explore the dashboard, and then we actually, because this is one big ecosystem of organizations that are serving people in Jefferson County, we also broke it out into some of its networks of networks. So we broke it out into an early childhood network, food systems, older adult, and workforce development. We also have a bunch of data in there on housing and mental health, so other ways we could break it apart. But if you click on any of these, you'll see some of the examples of what I was just sharing with you. So for the first one, if I click here to look at the Jeffco CPRM report, I get, here we are, this report. And so I'm not going to go through the whole thing with you, but you'll see it's a pretty long report. It's not one of our briefs, 69 pages, but this will allow you to see how we organize the data as the team at BNL. So communities ask us, even those who use the platform all on their own, sometimes they'll ask us to do their reporting because we're real good at it and quick at it. Kendall Warwick Diaz, who is on the call right now, is just our data visualization specialist. But you'll see how we kind of organize stuff from the platform into a report. It's full of pictures, but we do try to do a lot of sense making in here as well. The end of this report is pretty interesting because we ended up doing these case studies. This report is organized around their priority frameworks inside the foundation. But you'll see here in section 5, we have developing action steps and strategies. This is a really interesting section where we really went through some use cases and combined different looks at the data to come up with different conclusions. So you can walk through those. This is the second one, and get some ideas, a little bit more of what we did in the last webinar. So those are reports, but what I also wanted to share with you are the dashboards and then the member profiles. So I mentioned to you that we have these networks of networks. So the early childhood dashboard is right here. When I click on that, I get this. So what you're seeing here is a dashboard that is just the early childhood and education data from the bigger CPRM. So you'll see here, you can build this out any way you want. You can bring in your own text. This is a template. I'm going to show you how to build these in just a moment. You can bring in your own logos and pictures, link to other things. But what's really nice is that you can also bring in the data that is live inside your system. So as these data update, as it updates in the platform, it will also update in your dashboard. If you choose not to, you don't want it to update. For example, this is a static image. So this won't update. We want to keep it at a point in time. We do put explanatory stuff in here. I'm going to come back to the map in just a moment, but what you'll see is that you can also put things side by side, which is really nice because then you can do some comparison. You could do a time 1 to a time 2 or early childhood next to workforce and things like that. So it's a very flexible system. It's reading all your data that exists over in your platform. So for example, this is the early childhood education map here and what resources they share. I'm actually going to go back up to the map up here. So here you're going to see a few of these different maps, and then you'll see these are live. So if I'm interested in who these folks are, I can look over here and see which attribute tells me what sector they belong to, but I can also click on it, see which member it is, which organization. This is Triad Bright Futures. And then when I click on the eyeball, it's going to open their member profile, the next thing I'll show you. So the dashboards are neat because you can really see things at like the 10,000 foot level of your system and organize it for people so that they can really make sense of some of the data. You can put action steps in here. You can add other kinds of information for them about your network. And you don't have to ask all network questions. You can collect data on all kinds of things, sentiment analysis, perception, success scores, anything that you think. So once we click on a member profile, you'll see now I'm in the member profile section. And this is just giving me information about Triad Bright Futures. So as a reminder, we chose to make these public. So not all of this comes as a default. You'd have to decide to make this data available to the rest of the network. But here you can see Triad Bright Futures in the middle here and all of their connections. And then over here is on the right side is the whole network map. In the member profile, we included some of their answers to questions about who they serve, what populations. Another thing you'll see is, for example, they selected which services they offer. And then on the right, you'll see a picture of the whole network results of this question. So you can see they provide early childhood and education. And over here, we asked folks which services they provide around different parts of Jefferson County. And in here, you can see, let me make it a little bit bigger, the early childhood education is actually the thing that most of the respondents actually said that they provide. So you can start to put their responses into some context. So as I go through here, you'll see that pattern of their response on the left, the whole network data on the right. And this is a template you fill in, so you can choose to do this. Most people don't do this comparison, but we thought that was pretty creative. Down here, you'll see this question that they answered, what kinds of activities do you engage in? When they picked a partner, another member in the ecosystem, then they answered a question of what they do together. So you can choose to include some of these kinds of data in here as well. You can see that Triad Bright Futures said that they partner with the Arvada Chamber around these types of activities. So if you're trying to figure out kind of who is doing what, this is a resource for that. So those are kind of the examples of different reports, dashboards, and then also member profiles. So you'll see these differences as you go through here. Something I didn't show you, well, I did show you that you can actually kind of skip around to see the different network members as you see these maps over here in both the member profile and the dashboard. Okay, so that's kind of how we do a lot of the sharing. So now I'm going to back it up. I'm going to kind of go back and show you how we do that. So once you are inside the platform, you should be able to do this kind of work. All right, so I'm going to come to the platform and log in. So once you log in, you're going to see a screen a lot just like mine. And if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm very conversational, so happy to answer questions now or at the end. But if something comes to mind, please stick it in there so that we can not miss it and come back to it. When you're inside your platform, you will click up here and you're going to see a number of different drop downs. You'll have the Community Health Coalition and the Snow White Network as well as yours. So I am going to use the Community Health Coalition, which you also have access to play around with so that you can see how I'm doing things. So as a reminder, all of the members of this ecosystem are here. This is just an example data set, so it's quite small. We have 11. We have an accompanying simulation that you can go through to kind of walk through this and practice with it. You'll see that we have a couple of groups together of how to put folks together, but this is where you'll see the main information about your members that you have already put in. So that's all part of member management. Then as a reminder, we came to capture. We learned how to collect data. And then finally, we went through in the third webinar, the whole Explore tab. How do we actually go through all this? So today I'm coming down to the Share tab, and I'm just going to show you how to build a couple of these things. The one thing I will remind you is that when you are in a network and you are building out, exploring through your network, there's a little picture of up here in the right, a little disk and then the image picture as well. So if I download the image, it's going to save this picture. If I download the settings, it's going to capture any filter that I might have used in here. So now if I save this, it'll save my colors along with that. All of those get loaded down here into this visualization library. So you'll use the visualization library in order to build out your dashboards. So here you're going to see, we use this for a lot of demos. So there's a lot of dashboards in here that are practice ones. But the way that this works is you simply hit add, and then you'll label your dashboard. I'm going to put that this is the webinar, November 19 dashboard. You can describe what it is. This is a demonstration dashboard. And then if you want, you can put authors and contributors and things like that. But once you've set that up, then you want to come down and start building out your blocks. So I'm going to add a block here, and I'm actually going to say I'd love it to have 3 columns. So now within each column, I can pick to insert an image, a text, a chart, a table, or a network map. So let me go back down to 2 columns. It won't let you pack in 3 network maps next to each other because no one would be able to read them. So we have a couple quality control things in here that help you from making it really hard to use. So if I want to include a network map, I just click on that. It's going to ask me what I want to title it, and I'm going to call it my demo map. I'm going to pick where I want it to come from. So if you have multiple networks, multiple surveys out, you can put them all in here. I'm going to go ahead and pick this coalition map 2024, include the legend, and hit save. So now it just brought in from my visualization library the map that I had saved. So I have that here, but over here I might want to bring in a chart to put next to it. So I will put that this is my chart, pick my simulation network. Oops, so I don't have one in here. Let me see if I have one at this level. Okay, I do. So once I save this, now I have a chart, again, one of those live ones. So you can just continue to build these out. As soon as I finish this section, I'll add another new block. Within that block, I might just want to have text now. So I might just want to come here and just basically do a whole explanation of what you are seeing above. So if you use your own frameworks, your own language, you can get it all in here. At the top, you can include your logos, all kinds of things like that. I can publish it, which now is going to make it a link that I can share publicly. And I can also turn on or off allowing profile sharing. If that's off, it means no one can click on this node and see someone else's member profile. But if I turn it on, it allows people to share. Okay, so those are our dashboards. Once you save that, you can always preview it. I'll come back to that in just a minute. The other thing I wanted to share with you were how to make a member profile. So to make a member profile, click here. It's a very similar process. So you'll see here what we've done is you have a member profile and a respondent profile. The member profile is your internal view, and then respondent is what externally people will see when they hit a member profile. So in here, you can see that we can include their attributes. This one is all built out. The ego map on the left, the full network map on the right. And these are the ones that we can see one in just a minute here, but basically you can include just any of this data that you want from your visualization or things that you're bringing in. And once we have that set up, then when we come to our network, where we collected that data, there's several ways you can see the member profiles. I'm showing you a little alternative one. So once the member profile is set up and I want to click on one of my members, it'll bring up their member profile. So that's what we're going to see in a second. It'll load it in. It's just thinking and bringing data from a lot of different parts of the platform together. And that's how you'll see these. And then again, as that's loading, I'll just let it load. When you build your member profiles, just like the dashboards, you'll have options about how to share them or not. And so this is where you can allow profile sharing or not. So that's that dial of publicness. And it's really up to you. You can decide how you want to make those available to other people or not. If you're just here and you want to share the links to your entire network's member profile or respondent profile, you can just click here and download the links. Throughout the whole platform, you can export your data in really easy ways. So I know that's a lot, and it's crazy because we work really hard to scale it down and not give you as much as we could. But the platform is a complete start to finish process where you can bring in members from day one all the way to collecting and organizing and making sense of that data to here where you can build reports and dashboards and share to the audiences that you need to. I will say I do not do presentations anymore without a dashboard. So if I'm doing a presentation on a network, I will come to the presentation with a QR code, and I will let everyone see the network and see how the dashboard works and let them click into it and things like that. People love to play around with data. They like to be interactive and involved. And so that's really been a core piece of our presentations that we give now at Visible Network Labs. Okay, I am going to switch over here to our announcement. So I'm going to pass the baton. I'm going to stop sharing and let Brandon share with you our very exciting announcement. I will just say briefly what it is, and then he's going to walk through it. So we have created a new way to put your network data in there. In the past, it's been pretty difficult to get from this, day one to this whole process, through this whole process, because you have to collect data or import it. But what our users have told us is, and they ask all the time, can I just draw my network? Can I just connect the dots with what I know? It's ironic because we didn't start there, which is where most people start. But now, in response to that, we have said yes. So we've created a really simple way once you get your members in there that you can just connect the dots. So Brandon's going to share his screen and show you and do that demo. So I'm passing
Yep.
it over. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Danielle. Appreciate the introduction. Hi, everybody. Good to see familiar names. I know I've worked with a handful of you in the past, so very cool to be here. Um, like Danielle said, we've gotten a lot of feedback over the years. We do know that it's a big process setting up a survey, getting ready to gather all that data. It's a worthwhile process for all the information it gets you and getting to see the perspective of your network, not just from your own perspective, but from every member that you have within the network. But sometimes it's just nice to be able to take a look at the network as you know it. And so to try and help people just get into the platform quicker, get you using all of the wonderful analyzer features that we have, making it more accessible overall. We did, uh, as of today, this did just release, add this new way for you to capture data for your network. And truly, it is you providing the data around the relationships. So instead of going through the survey route, going external, gathering all the relationship data that way, you can now choose to draw your own network, and it lives up to its name. We tried to just keep it simple with that one. So I can just show you getting through these first couple of steps here. We will name our network. I'm going to intentionally leave one out for now just to show you later. Um, but you are then presented with an empty map, only have your notes here, but you already have the ability right off the bat to just start creating your map as you know it to be. So any relationships that you already know about, you can just start tracking them yourselves. We did add a couple of options here. I'm just going to step through it real quick, try and keep this more aligned with myself as a product person. I don't have the same presentation skills as Danielle does, but I do know how to talk about how things work. Um, by default, we allow you to create reciprocal ties. More often than not, organizations are working with each other, but we do want to make sure you have the option if it does seem to be like a one-way relationship in any way, you can get that set up as well. It's super easy to get rid of any accidental tie you have. Just draw it again, it'll go away. We give a couple of view options here. So instead of seeing full names here, you can go down to your map labels, refresh it and see how the map looks. You have a lot of control here just to create the map the way you want it to be. And then I do want to show then, so let's say this is the information we know initially about our network. We go ahead and complete this, and it will create our new network for us. With this, we've revamped the way the network menu works for these, and you are still given the same control to draw more relationships as you learn about them in the future, or if things ever change. It's very easy for you to just come in and maintain that data. And we also wanted to add a couple of other features once you're in here just to help um, make things a little bit clearer. So if you needed to start coloring by any of your attributes, you'd be able to check that out. And also, I find this one very fun. Being able to size the nodes by centrality, and this adapts as you draw or remove edges. So even if you were just curious about using this to see what your network could look like, how your network would possibly be, you can use this tool to even work through hypotheticals, maybe set up goals for yourself. There's a lot of ways you can do this. All of it we're just really excited about because as you can see, I've spent all of a couple of minutes in here and already have a network map that I could then go into that analyzer tool and evaluate. The last thing I just want to show then is that I did mention, um, and I knew I was going to do this, but I forgot who it was I left off of the list here. Danielle, did you catch it by chance? I can go and look.
I
Okay.
did not.
Okay. Well, I am able to add brand new members to this
You
quite
can add me.
easily. I could add Danielle into this, and I can check real quick who I left off here. I said I was going to pick someone. Okay, Salvation Army, perfect. Um, you can then add them back in later as they become a part of the network. And there they are.
Nice.
So, as we mentioned, this is out and available now. So, feel free to go in and try it out. For our free tier, when you start off as a free tier, when you register, we have upped the network limit to allow you to have two different networks. So, if you'd like to try out a survey and try out drawing, you have the opportunity to do both. Um, and yeah, just very excited to share this with you all and look forward to further updates in the future.
Thanks, Brandon. And this may seem to any of you that are new to us like obvious. Why haven't they been doing this all the time? But we've really held a really strong belief that the best data are the real data are the measures of the perceptions that we have of each other as relationships. So your perception of me and my perception of you is a relationship that we've always been trying to capture. It's that mystery of how we think of each other and regard each other. So just keep in mind that this is a new venture for us because what we're doing is we're saying this is your perspective. So when you draw a map, if you do show it to the community, you will want to let folks know that this is a perspective that you think people have of each other because the community may react like I don't actually have that relationship, why did they put it up there? So all of that is just in how you describe it and talk about it. And the last thing I will say is a tip. We did a presentation yesterday for a community we've been working with. You don't have to show them all the things I just showed you. You can just show them one map or one pie chart. And almost every community I've done this with has ended up with a long conversation about why we're seeing what we see, what we might want to do because we're seeing it. So this is complex ecosystem stuff, but really what it comes down to are these just really small parts that really spark discussion. I always say the network map is really like the front cover of the story of your network. And then you want to open that book and see, all the chapters, and there's so many. So be patient with yourself and understanding it, and especially patient with our community folks who need time to understand what they are seeing. I tend to go over that. We have a couple of folks on the call I know who are partners to us, and they will attest to that. I go all in on all the things. And sometimes I have to realize just one visual, just one data point at a time can be the best way to share the information back. So we are going to conclude. If anyone has any question, this is where we just get real informal. You can raise your hand, put it in the chat, talk to each other if you want. But we'll just be quiet for a minute so we can see if anyone has any questions for us or ideas. Okay. All right. If we don't, the other thing that I would just suggest right now is if anyone actually wants to try something, we are absolutely willing. If you would even want to share your screen and say, I can't get past this, I can't do that, you've got the team here who can actually help you with that. So if there's anyone kind of meddling in there right now who'd be interested in I think we can give you share access. But talking about your own project, your own work, we're open for that as well. Okay. I have a little trick because I hate the silence. So I keep my music very lightly on in the background. I don't even know if anyone can hear it, so that I will sometimes just sit. Okay. All right. I do see a couple of comments. So one with a question. Okay, so is it possible to make a copy of a network? And two, is there a way to share the profiles without identifying other organizations? Um, yes, it is possible to make a copy of the network. It's a great question. We've actually, right now, we don't have the user interface for it. You would just have to contact us. And actually, Brandon's the person who would start that filter. Um, Most people are copying a network because they have a time to that they're interested in, and they don't necessarily want to start over. They just want the exact same network to show up, and then they want to ask people to answer questions about it. So the copy, you have a choice to bring over their original responses or not. And it's pretty much two different ways of thinking about how you want to collect that new data. Um, so so yes, we can copy it into a new one. We've done it a couple times now. Found all the little bugs that we could that make that it's kind of complicated, and got it figured out. And then the second question was, can you share the profiles without identifying other organizations? Really, the way to do that is to de-identify the data inside your platform, unless Brandon or Kendall can think of something I'm forgetting. Um,
We do, so similar to the dashboards, there is a setting that allows you to disable that profile sharing. So when you have network maps showing up in their profiles, that would prevent them from clicking through to seeing any of them. And those member profiles default to showing the map label as the identifier. So as you could see with the examples, there were just numbers there, no real identifying information. With those two things put in place, you shouldn't have to worry about other organizations' information being shown.
yeah, but if you do want to share a profile without identifying the information, you can. It would, but you need to be really careful that in your own database you aren't identifying them. So, for example, we've worked with some in like some clinical settings, for example, and we do not maintain any information on the patients at all. We get codes, patient 100, patient 101. Somewhere else in a different platform, in a different space, we would have who they are. So if you want to keep your platform anonymous in that way, it may not be as useful for you, to be able to access so quickly, but you can basically keep it anonymous that way. And if you are worried about it, I would recommend being very careful about those processes. We do this all the time, and we have had a moment where we were like, oh no, we're sharing something that and didn't expect to. So practice before you do that, and make sure you know what you are sharing. Thank you for the questions. Okay. Well, we are going to end our webinar then. If in our next newsletter, we're going to be sharing more about the drawing feature, and we're going to do just a short workshop. I don't know what to call it, a whole webinar on using that. Hopefully, people can do it with us. So we will put that out into a newsletter that hopefully you will get in the next week or two, so you can learn more about that. But please reach out, keep us in mind when you have questions. We are very happy to have had you here today. And for those of you who joined our whole webinar series, thanks so much for being a VNL partner groupie. We appreciate you and love your work very much. So thank you to everyone.
Real quick, Danielle, sorry. There was one more question posted.
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt the
No,
outro,
yeah, that's great.
but
So let's see, John. Any comment on the pricing tiers for small organizations that are working with networks larger than 500? Yeah, and all of our pricing is right on the website. We try to be super transparent. One thing we want people in our communities to know is that we're not charging people different things. So there is the free tier, which does have a lot of limitations on collecting the data. Then we have a light tier, which is $1,800 as an annual license. So you would get within that the ability to put in all your members. In the free tier, you can put in all your members. And but it doesn't, but it is limited on a little bit of what kind of data you can collect, but mostly it's limited on how you can analyze it. So like the GIS is not available, for example, in some of the other features. So and then finally, we have the main tier, the pro tier, which is $4,000, that you can use to do the entire process. There's no limitations to how many networks, how many questions, how many dashboards you build in it. And then if you decide to add additional users, then it's a $30 per person per month fee. And then we call very affectionately, those users are grab and go users. So they grab it and go use it. We have an online course that we're offering for free right now. So you just have everything in there that you would need. We have a great resource library. But a lot of our users will also hire our team to do the process of the design, figuring out who goes in there, what questions we should include, do the analysis. So that's where we work with or communities all over the country to basically set up the data system for you with the intention that you could continue to use it. So we have some partners who continue to work with us over time, which is great. That's how we keep our organization going. We're kind of your atypical tech company. We don't have investors and things like that. We just use all of these kinds of revenues to build out this platform and then share it back with communities. So yeah, so all of that's online, and happy to answer any more questions if anyone has them. Oh, and the last part of that, John, you said, what's the ROI on the pro license? I mean, the pro license is like you could replace a whole evaluator with it. It is so thorough. You can like the capabilities, or it'll take you some time to get a handle on all of them because they are just quite it's so worth it. I think I'm a little biased, but yeah, I think it's an incredible investment. Especially compared to doing most of this stuff on your own or piecing it together across multiple systems. You will save so much of your organization employees' time, things like that. Okay, well, thank you all again for coming. We will see you all soon. Stay connected, and thanks again.